All right, we are live. I'm back live again for the late show where we are gonna talk about watches. Um, this is gone for the minute, and so is Alejandro Sosa. Young Brando is back. I'm with you to talk watches. We can talk about the new releases from Watches and Wonders, which has had a public day, and I think it's concluded now. Um, and finally, um, Time to Watches as well, which was concurrent with it. I think that certainly concluded. And Pitchy, hey man, how are you doing? Um, Feel free to jump on the panel. We can just take it easy for the moment. Uh, I covered the Sotheby's Hong Kong auction last night. It's divided into two parts. So, important watches one is what I covered. Important watches two is what I'm going to start covering today, unless someone jumps in and we do something else. There we go. I covered the auction that is taking place on April 5th. This is the second portion that is taking uh, part or taking place on April 6th. So if you have any questions about any of the lots, please feel free to direct them to me. And you can send any other watch related questions, anything regarding new releases from Watches and Wonders, and anything else. You can just send them in with a super chat. We're going to start with lot 8601, or simply we can say lot number 1, which is a Patek Philippe Nautilus reference 5980, the flyback chronograph version in pink gold on the leather band. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of the Nautilus. The chronograph aesthetically is even more of an eyesore for me. But that aside, I've always admired this single register execution for Patek's chronographs in the 5960 and as in the Nautilus and Aquanaut chronographs as well. So this piece is interesting, if anything, for that reason. And I somehow like the ones on leather straps better. I don't know why that is, but it's kind of a cool look. Maybe it's because it's so discordant with how the genre was invented and laid out in the first place. But this is a 5980R on a leather strap, the Nautilus flyback chronograph with an estimated value of 76,000 to almost $102,000. Hey Tim G, how are you doing, man? Please hit the like button, by the way, if you have not. I want to share also, I'm just jumping in here, if you didn't know, from a wonderful discussion that my friend Dizurdis and I had on Scarface. So please feel free to check that out on your own time. It's like a minute and 15, an hour and 15 minutes. Focused discussion. We handled a lot of different aspects of the movie, a lot of interesting themes, like excess, like the pursuit of the American dream, and how the whole phrase, the world is yours, both articulates a promise and also spells out the protagonist's ultimate demise. So check it out when you can. we didn't even say a word about watches in the movie. Al Pacino's watches, the Omega La Magique that he's wearing in that movie, but it was a good discussion nonetheless. So if you want something a little different, something that takes you to the movies, check that out for further content. I think it was good, and I was fortunate to have such a great interlocutor on my side. Lot number 2 here, coming back, is an early reference of the Patek Philippe Aquanaut, where you can, I think, see even better on this kind of bracelet, in this kind of configuration, how it was iterated, how it was modified from the Nautilus. Here in a yellow gold case with a black dial and Roman numerals that are filled with luminous material, and feuille hands, which are also likewise. Of course, this is from late 90s, so that should be tritium if it's original to the watch. Of course, it has a closed case back of matching material. Looks to be in a pretty decent condition, but a very unusual version of the Aquanaut. Of course, since we are mostly familiar with the earlier grenade look of the dial, a much rougher pattern than the later globescape kind of design, which is more perhaps akin to what the Aquanaut later was to become. This reference 5060 at lot 2 is estimated to fetch a final amount between $38,000 to more than $63,000. An early Aquanaut with a black dial and Roman numerals. A distinctly dressy take on the genre. I skipped a little bit ahead and came to this Jules Audemars tourbillon by Audemars Piguet. Hey guys, lovely to see you. Herr Stiefel, my Lebanese friend Phoenician Cedar, and Memovox, thank you so much. I appreciate you, man. So does this. That was a great program, and really an honor and pleasure for me to host him here. We have a flying tourbillon here from Audemars Piguet in the now extinct Jules Audemars line. Lot number 7, reference number 25873 OR, meaning we have a pink gold case. Power reserve indication right here. You have the dial, basically the main dial taking part of the upper half of the dial, and the lower half is where you find the tourbillon, and you also have a dates, pointer dates, at where you would have traditionally 3 o'clock. A very round case with stubby lugs, crown on the back, so a very streamlined design, very wearable design at 40 millimeters, relatively thin as well, and an interesting flying tourbillon from early 2000s by AP in the Jules Audemars series, with an estimated value of $25,000 to almost $51,000 and possibly more. These are US dollar values. I was just telling the inner circle about some treasures I found for them, for skeletonized watches, for watches with open worked dials. I was just telling them how Audemars Piguet, through its history, was known for being masters of this sort of approach, this kind of work. And here's an Edouard Piguet tourbillon with an open worked dial, the tourbillon doubling up as an oversized seconds subdial. Otherwise, a very elegant rectangular piece with stepped lugs. A very curved piece. And a piece that also has open worked bridges on the back so that you can enjoy the movement all the same from the case back as well. What you have is a platinum case, and again, relatively compact dimensions, 29 millimeter by 48.5. So somewhere between the Grantai case of the JLC Reverso and the larger cases that Reverso has more recently for their complicated versions, such as the Grand Date, Grand Calendar, the new chronograph, etc. This is an Edouard Piguet reference 25947 PT. Tourbillon that is encased in 18 karat platinum with an open work dial, estimated value of 30,000 to almost 41,000 and more. Good morning, Memovox. My regards to Denmark. This was lot number 8. I really need a drink of water, so I will run and get that while I leave you with a semi-skeletonized limited edition Hermes tourbillon from about 10 years ago. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. We're talking about important watches too. This is the April 6th session of Sotheby's Hong Kong, coming up quite soon. This is Hermes's Arceau case, which is perfectly round but has asymmetric lugs that give it this sort of look that looks like a hoop of some sort, which is kind of what the word means, if my French isn't failing me at the moment. And this tourbillon is also skeletonized in part to give you a look into the gear train beyond the tourbillon cage. And the case is in pink gold and has similarly skeletonized feuille hands for hour and minutes. And the back of the case is very nicely decorated in a way that harkens back to the original logo of the brand, and that encircles the tourbillon cage from the back. And this is one of 176 pieces. I'm assuming, if I'm not calculating, the piece was released on the 176th anniversary of Hermes. And as behooves a limited edition watch like this, it comes with its proper box and a matching déployant clasp in pink gold as well. This Arceau Lift Tourbillon, reference AR5970 from 2013, a semi-skeletonized tourbillon, is estimated to realize a final hammer price of more than $25,000 up to $38,000 US and more. It was lot 12. At lot number 14, we have the winner of Men's Complication Prize in the GPHG, in the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève in 2022. This watch, along with its reduced sized version, won consecutively men's and women's complication prizes. It is Hermes's interpretation of the world time that is built on their Vacheron manufacture H1837 self-winding caliber with the world time module made for them by Chrono. This piece is, I think, very distinctive in the way it reimagines time telling as a different kind of story, in the way it expresses that notion of world time we associate with travel watches, because you literally can make the dial travel between the 24 time zones with the pusher. This larger version is actually a platinum case with a DLC coated titanium bezel. It's a 41 millimeter piece in various shades of gray for this example, whereas blue is the more radiant and dominant color for the reduced size version. Hermes's decoration of their bridge plates as well as rotor weight is very similar to Cartier, I would say, in the sense that it is this excessive adornment of every possible visible surface with their logo. just like Cartier decks everything with the double wishbone when you have an exposed case back. So does Hermes with their initial H. And this piece has an estimated value at number 14, the Arceau Le Temps Voyageur in platinum with a DLC coated titanium bezel. Hermes's prize-winning world time piece. It has an estimated value of 12,750, roughly, all the way up to more than 25,000 US dollars. At lot 16, we have the Mad. Sorry about that. We have the Mad Editions, the MB&F entry-level watch, the watch that they have produced and they continue to produce in very limited editions that they allocate by way of lottery on an annual basis or a more regular basis. It has this spinning, fidgety triple blade winding rotor that's inverted. And it kind of continues the theme of skeletonization, as you have seen. This is the Mad One Red. So that is the dominant color of the watch, both on the base plate and in the contrast stitching of the strap. The time is displayed laterally on the band of the case. And here is the case back for this distinctive and unique piece by Maximilian Bussa and friends. This is Mad One Red in stainless steel with an estimated value of 5,000 to 10,000 US dollars at lot 16. Again, if you want me to attend to any of the pieces that I skipped, or if you want to move ahead and direct my attention to something that you like in this auction, feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat, and I would be more than happy to dive right in and talk about that watch in some horological and historical detail. Here is lot number 23. We have an IWC Portuguese perpetual calendar. IWC was in many ways a leader in the serial production of perpetual calendars. The Court Klaus module, of course, that was initially built on top of a Valjoux 7750 to give us the Da Vinci perpetual calendar chronograph, was more than 4 decades later the first perpetual calendar chronograph in serial production after the Patek 1518. Imagine that lull, of course, also because 1518 itself didn't last in production for so long and was only produced for less than 300 pieces. So IWC's perpetual calendars are important for the way they democratize that complication if we are to buy into the company narrative. But more importantly, we can say in earnest that they made these sorts of complicated watches very popular and accessible to a broader audience in the wake of the quartz crisis, I think they were pioneers in making complications cool again to a wider audience of people, along with, of course, Blancpain, which was revived at that time by Biver and Piguet and carried the motto, "We never made quartz watches and we never will." So this is the IWC perpetual calendar, Portuguese, where everything can be adjusted with a single crown, where everything moves synchronically. So you never get to come up with some made up combination or permutation of day, date, month and year. Everything moves synchronously, and you also have the 4 digits year display, as well as a moon phase indicator that shows the right phase of the moon, both for the northern and southern hemisphere. With a 7-day power reserve at full charge for this self-winding perpetual calendar by IWC, namely the Portuguese in 18 karat white gold with a 44 millimeter case. So relatively slim for the kind of complication it contains, but certainly a big watch with that blue dial that contrasts very nicely with the white metal of the case. This lot 23 has an estimated value of more than 15,000 to 30,500 in US dollars and more. Lot number 25 is another German-speaking watch, so to speak. This is Lange Söhne 1815. Their series that harken back to the aesthetics of Saxonian pocket watch. This is reference 206032. It is a two-hander with small seconds at 6 o'clock. Arabic numerals, very legible dial, silvered with black printing. And since the watch is from more than a decade ago, you can see how that German silver has taken on even more of the yellowish hue which distinguishes it. Which gives it also a very interesting patina. Of course, German silver is an alloy of copper, zinc, and nickel, and it has this warm yellowish hue at the very beginning. But one of the beautiful things about Lange Söhne's watches is how that 3/4 plate in fact ages and patinates through the years itself. So if you love how the watches tell time with more than their 2 hands, you would love to own a Lange watch for this particular reason. This is a simple dress watch by Lange Söhne, but supremely elegant. 2 hands and a small second subdial at 6 o'clock, 1815, in pink gold, with an estimated value in excess of $15,000 to $23,000 and possibly more. That is US currency. Lot number 26 is a second generation overseas with the dual time function. I recognize that on the bezel, finally, you can see how you have the closed case back on this generation. The bracelet is, of course, not quick release or easy exchange like it is in this particular generation. Reference 47450 for this dual time complication. Black dial in stainless steel. It has this stamped guilloche pattern on it that gives it a little more texture. Power reserve, a second time zone, a day and night indicator, as well as a pointer date on this asymmetrically executed dial. My apologies. Lot number 26 is estimated to fetch a value in excess of 12,700 up to 25,500 and possibly more. We have another Vacheron Constantin piece, very desirable and very popular watch from their Historique series. This is the pink gold 40 millimeter case of their famous driver's watch, the American 1921. With that hand-wound movement that has its crown at 12 o'clock. But of course, the 12 o'clock is where you would have 2 o'clock, so on and so forth. But the dial of the watch itself is, I think, a very beautiful, very elegant, with lovely stylized and oversized Breguet numerals, Breguet hands, a small seconds dial, and the railroad track for both the minutes and the seconds within that subdial. It's a very elegant watch, a watch that has a low profile but quite a wrist presence at 40 millimeters especially, and of course finished to the standards of the Geneva seal, which it carries here on the plate. Lot 27, which is an American 1921 from Vacheron Constantin's Historique series, their series of watches that they reissue from their past, sometimes reinterpret, and ultimately it is their way, running that series is their way of emphasizing, underlining the fact that they remain the oldest continuously operating watch manufacturer in the entire world. That's Vacheron Constantin, and they remain loyal to their history with this American 1921. which has an estimated value between 15,000 to 23,000 US dollars. There are a few very interesting pieces from Chrono Tokyo, and I would love to see how they are going to perform in auction. As you know, the pieces are generally quite limited in number when they come out. They're not extremely complicated, but they're always very well designed, and watches that are full of character. So here's the Chrono Tokyo Tic Tac edition of their automatic chronograph with a reverse panda dial in stainless steel, no reserve. So the bidding will start at $1 for this automatic chronograph that has the classical case size of 38 millimeter. Made in Japan in collaboration with Hajime Asaoka, with an estimated value of 2,500 to 5,000 US dollars, and possibly more at lot 29. And at lot 30, you have the version in Panda, and in fact, a kind of two-tone dial that combines a silver dial with accents of taupe. This piece will also be auctioned off without reserve and has an estimated value that is the exact same as the last one. Chrono Tokyo, in collaboration with Tic Tac and Hajime Asaoka, with an estimated value of $2,500 to $5,000 at lot number 30. The second series of Chrono Tokyo's chronograph from 2021, again, a kind of two-tone dial, more sporty look. Chrono Tokyo's chronographs have been quite popular over the years, over the course of, I think, about 4 different series, basically. And they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have always had a Miyota-based movement. I want to confirm this before I tell you. No, excuse me. It is the Seiko NE86, which is a relatively thick movement. So the watches themselves are not extremely slender, but not impossibly thick either. I believe they are right under 14, and the Mark II is 13 and a half, or a little smaller as far as I know. The NE86 should have a power reserve of 45 hours. And it is a column wheel chronograph with vertical clutch, and it has Seiko's famous magic lever system, which means, it kind of starts ticking the minute you pick up the watch, which is truly something magical with Seiko's watches. And it's actually such a simple and ingenious technique. And the second generation Chrono Tokyo is actually estimated to sell for a little more. Again, it starts at no reserve, but has an estimated value of 5 to more than 7.5 thousand US dollars for the high ceiling of that estimate. At lot 35, we have an Omega Speedmaster Professional Alaska Project, limited edition, brand new, untouched, a time capsule from 2009, one of 1970, with a relatively conservative estimate of 10,000 to more than 15,000 US dollars. 36 is another limited edition made for the 40th anniversary of Apollo 17, with this in stainless steel once again, with a special center dial. In embossed silver. One of 1972, 1,972 pieces. The Last Man on the Moon, 40th anniversary, with an estimated value of 7,600 to more than 10,000 in US dollars at lot number 36. At 37, lot number 37, we have a Speedmaster moon phase. You have a moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock, a date indicator at 9, and a blue dial with matching blue bezel. Comes in a full set, sapphire case back, 44 millimeter case, so rather large for even a Speedmaster, more like the racing case. This is lot number 37 with an estimated value of 5 to in excess of 10,000 US dollars. At lot number 40, we have a very interesting Danny Roth chronograph in stainless steel from around 1995. These were kind of transitional pieces, towards the end of his era of true independence to the time where the hourglass was coming in with the capital, with the investment to save the firm from bankruptcy. Bulgari was to take over in 2000, and that brings us all the way into 2023 when Louis Vuitton revived the brand, with a limited run of 20 subscription tourbillons and they will continue to produce under the Daniel Roth name in such limited numbers and in this rarefied fashion at their high horological and high complications workshop, which also constitutes their core of the manufacture, namely La Fabrique du Temps. This is a very sporty version of Daniel Roth chronograph, a master chronograph. Early on, he had built-in hand-wound chronographs in precious metal, especially on the Lemania CH27 base. This is an automatic one built on the base of the caliber El Primero 400 by Zenit, so still a very serviceable and workhorse movement for a self-winding chronograph, with the pinstripe guilloche on the gray dial, heat blued hands with minimal loom for hours and minutes, and a beautiful 3-register chronograph with date in stainless steel, with an estimate of $6,000 to $9,000 and more. On an absolutely awful strap, but I'm sure they won't be able to send it abroad anyways, so consider yourself in luck. At lot 42, you have another brand that found itself first as part of the Hourglass Group, and then within the auspices of Bulgari, and is now being revived by Louis Vuitton, by Jeanne Arnaud, who has brought it in-house to La Fabrique du Temps with the masterful skills of the two legendary watchmakers, namely Michel Navas and Enrico Barbasini. Gérard Janta brand is coming back too, and this is one of his beautiful pieces, the Octo in the tourbillon execution. You have a wonderful blend of octagonal and circular and rectangular pieces on this watch. The tourbillon cage itself is an octagon, which makes it quite a delight for a piece designed by Gérard Janta. And you have this kind of arabesque motif on the dial itself, which has a nice exchange between black and red. The watch is on a strap and has this nicely decorated movement with a skeletonized rotor with the letter G, since Gérard Janta was such a G himself. Platinum case with a tantalum circular bezel and an enamel dial. If all of this wasn't enough, it also has a retrograde hours complication, which means that the hour hand never crosses through the tourbillon cage. So it goes to 6, snaps back right here. From around 2005 in a 43 millimeter case. This Octo Tourbillon by Gérard Janta brand is estimated to run somewhere between 25,000 to more than 40,000 US dollars. Please hit the like button if you have enjoyed the show so far, if you have learned something from it. I think I will go for another hour or maybe a little while longer as well. But there's a lot of interesting watches in this auction, so I want to go through them. Gérard Janta's watches were, of course, as you have just seen in the Octo Tourbillon, much more than these retrograde jumping hour pieces. But more recently, the Bulgari had reduced Gérard Janta to that, basically. This is a piece that is an example of that, but from 2005. It is a fantasy retro Mickey Mouse, a limited edition in stainless steel, which is a Chinese jumping hour watch with Chinese minutes, retrograde minutes, mother of pearl dial that has a rosette guilloche pattern that emanates from its center. It was apparently made in collaboration with Hong Kong Disneyland around 2005. Lot 43 has an estimated value of $5,000 to $10,000 and possibly more. And I'm sure it will actually sell for more than that, because these are very popular indeed. Lot number 44 has this time Donald Duck, same idea, retro fantasy in stainless steel from around 2000. You have jumping hour that peaks through an aperture and retrograde minutes that is indicated by none other than Donald Duck himself. Of course, this is an automatic movement, a Disney licensed product. The estimate is more than $6,000 to going up to $12,700. One second. All right, I'm back. We are here with Important Watches 2, which is the April 6th session of Sotheby's watch auction in Hong Kong. We have a Submariner 5513, just like mine, from 1967, almost a brother, in this case an older brother, meters first. That's no date, two-liner, minimalist perfection. One of the best watches you can get at any price range, if you ask me. This piece comes on a later bracelet, which incidentally is one of the good things about this watch. Admittedly, I'm very happy to have my riveted oyster bracelets, but since 5513 was such a long-running reference, it also means within the consistency of that case shape and size, you can actually fit a bracelet that is as late as 93-150 and make it a great piece for daily wear, wearing it still on an authentic oyster bracelet, even if you have a version of it from all the way back in 60s. I usually wear it on a leather band or a NATO strap, more preferably, but there's that option if you can find you know, something from even eBay. If you don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, there are a lot of one-stop shops that specialize in Rolex spare parts, dials, bezels, etc., and they have OEM oyster bracelets, authentic Rolex, for this kind of purpose. This watch is fitted with a much later bracelet, which makes it, especially with this pumpkin-like patina, a very interesting piece for everyday wear. It's exactly the kind of watch that you can wear on a daily basis, and it has an estimated value of $10,000 to $15,000. This is lot 46, which is Rolex Submariner 5513. Another 4-digit Rolex, a GMT Master 1675 Pepsi from around the same time, 1968, with period correct folded link bracelets with an estimated value of $10,000 to $15,000 and more at lot 48 for this Rolex GMT Master 1675 Pepsi. Lot 49 is one of the more interesting iterations of the Royal Oak Offshore for me. It is a piece that is 38 millimeters, still in case diameter. It's still a big boy because it's quite thick, but the dial design has that additional depth that is given to the dial by that sloped rejo, which is used for a pointer date, because this is a triple calendar which expresses the day of the week and the month through the two aperture right under 12 o'clock, right under the Audemars Piguet script. The dial has black petite tapisserie pattern, AP at 12 o'clock, and rubber crown, those accentuated crown guards, and the more rough and rugged bracelet, which is fully brushed, accompanies the piece. You can see how thick this watch is, especially compared to the Jumbo, which has a similar diameter, but is, of course, in comparison to something like this, called ultra thin. The Royal Oak Offshore reference 25807 in steel here is clearly not ultra thin, but it's a beautiful, functional, and a very muscular watch to wear on the wrist. And here it has a very interesting estimated value. It could be such a great deal closer to the lower end of that estimate, which is right around 12,800, up to more than 25,000 in US dollars for lot 49, which is a Royal Oak Offshore triple calendar reference 25807 in stainless steel. Hey, Y2K, nice to see you, man. Feel free to jump on if you would like, or stay in the chat, depending on what you are comfortable with. I don't know if you are otherwise occupied as well, so I don't want to pressure. Lot 57 is a limited edition, which was released in 1997 to celebrate the opening of Patek Philippe's new facilities. This is the platinum version. It's commemorated that Eiffel case from the early period of the 20th century. This was called Pagoda, as it was inscribed here. I think altogether it was quite limited, but only 150 pieces in platinum, made to celebrate what was then the new facilities of Patek Philippe in Plain-les-Ouates. Pagoda reference 55,000 in platinum with a black dial, with its unique case that resembles either the base of the Eiffel Tower or the structure of tiered East Asian style towers that are known by the name pagoda. This piece has an estimated value of 19,000 to 25,500 in US dollars. That was lot 57. Next up, we have the first reference of Patek Philippe's proprietary complication, which they introduced before everyone else in 1996. This is a piece from 1999 in yellow gold, reference number 5035, the first reference. Date at 6 o'clock, a 24-hour indicator right above it, and the other two subdials, of course, point to the day of the week and the month alternatively, with a centrally deployed seconds hand and Roman numerals filled with lume on the silver dial that has a railroad track for minutes and seconds. This Patek Philippe annual calendar in yellow gold has an estimated value of 12,700 to an amount in excess of $25,400. Hey, Y2K.
Hey, hi, young Brando. How are you?
Good.
So catch me up. What are you up to today?
I have been, I was with this earlier. We talked about, we had like a 1 hour, 75-minute session on Scarface. We're going to talk about movies once every so often. So that was the first episode of that. And now I'm talking about the Sotheby's auction that's coming up in Hong Kong. I covered April 5th, and this is April 6th. I'll send the chat again so we can take a look. I just looked at this 8658.
I'm looking through the Pateks which you're showing right now. Yeah.
Do you have something in the background that is, you know, is it chirping? It's making some sort of noise. What do you know?
A humming noise?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
This noise?
No, not the car. Like it's like what's that?
Like a bird?
Like a cicada, I think they're called.
I think Yeah, we have something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
quite
not going
distant. I think
crazy.
the sensitivities picked it up.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it might just be my sensitivity, so don't worry about it.
I know how
Uh,
it feels when you're running a stream and it's very quiet because I've done it a few times before with you, and then alone as well. So I think your senses are very heightened over
yeah,
time.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. This is a very interesting watch. This is Piaget's execution of dual time. It's literally a two-faced watch, but one that you open up, and it's still rather thin, as you can see, for something like that, anyways. And it opens up onto a second dial on that hinge.
So it's powered by two movements or just one movement powering?
No, no, two distinct movements.
Two distinct movements. Wow.
Yeah.
The one thing is that I've seen Piaget around. Correct me if I'm
Mhm.
pronouncing it wrongly.
Perfectly.
Haven't
Yeah.
haven't really gotten down to looking at Piaget pieces yet. Yeah.
Piaget is very constantly associated with ultra thin, rather dainty, and sometimes very extravagant, dressy watches. Um, often, often they are actually powered by mechanical movements, but they also had extensive collections which were quartz powered, but supremely elegant. Like the earlier version of the Polo, for example, was a watch like that. That was very gold, very heavy, very flashy, and also very thin and very nice to wear on the wrist. So they have that tradition, which they carry to our day. Um, Especially the Altiplano series is an example of that. This is the double jeu, which refers to the fact that it has basically this hidden second face that is playfully hiding in plain sight. Um,
So it's like two in one in a way. Two in one.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, in the sense that the reverso duo face can show two times, right?
Yeah.
On each face. So just like that, you can show one time here with running seconds, and then you have another two-hander, which has its own crown here.
I have to give Piaget credit for this kind of ingenuity.
Yeah,
I
it's
think we've only, yeah.
very elegant too. Again, for something like this, quite playful, and has an estimated value of 10 to 15,000 US dollars, roughly. This is lot 61.
Uh, they do more pieces which are for dress pieces, yes?
Say that again.
They do a lot more dressy watches, don't they?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of their house style. And, they did come with a new version of Polo that kind of speaks to that integrated bracelet watch genre. Actually, let's take a look to that, and we can also look at what it evolved from, which was quite distinct, because today's Piaget Polo, whether it is time and date or more complicated like this, has a shape that's quite similar to, say, the Aquanaut, for example, right? It's
Oh,
not that original. um, Whereas the original Piaget Polo, like for example the day dates version, was just a very distinctive piece. Let me see if I can pull it up. Do you see it?
Yes, I do.
How that design of the links is completely repeated throughout the dial. It feels like one bullion
An
of
entire piece.
what one bullion of gold carved like that. It feels like um, there's dates at 12 o'clock and the day right above 6.
Actually, it looks almost like a wooden watch from a certain angle because of the color. Almost looks like it's
I,
fully wood. Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, it doesn't feel like that. I can tell you that it's pretty heavy.
No. Now that we are looking at it from the underside and in different angles, the brushed it looks like a very brushed gold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
This
very
is
nice
this is
piece.
beyond a watch. This is like an ornament already. Yeah. An artistry ornament already.
Yeah, it's really nice. So it does also have, like you said, there are pieces that are polished and then bigger, like bullions of gold almost. Look, the aesthetic is like that are grain brushed. So there's a nice contrast between those two surfaces as well. And this is, of course, a quartz piece. Very thin profile, as you can see again.
Yeah.
And these are,
Oh.
cheaper than what you can find the Rolex Day Date these days on the secondary market, which
Hold it right there. This is wow. This is really what it is, though. You know, when you showed me from the front view, I thought that the crystal was raised, above the crystal was placed
Mhm.
above the bracelet, and the bracelet and the crystal were two separate things. But from this angle, I actually begin to see that it's actually the crystal that's built inside a special frame
Mm.
that's meant to fit it there.
It's a cool piece, very, very much of its kind. So the new Polo doesn't really live up to that, um, radical aesthetic that was put in place with a design like that. It looks pretty generic, to be honest, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, Piaget overall is more known for the Altiplano, for example, which is very elegant. A lot of times, gem set too, but not necessarily. They also have very simple pieces like, I think I skipped one above. Should probably go back to, yeah, like something like this, south winding, small seconds at 4.5 o'clock.
Very
Dates,
classic look. Yeah.
yeah, date at 9 with pencil hands, micro rotor movement on the back to give that nice, sleek profile. 40 millimeters in 18 karat white gold. And I think the entire piece has a thickness of 6.36 millimeters. So
It's actually a very reasonable size of for dress watches with this level of sophistication. Yeah. When I
yeah,
mean sophistication, it's the movement that I'm looking at. Yeah.
yeah, it's very much, that's their bread and butter. You know, nice, simple, thin, ultra thin even dress watches.
Now that when I think back to when I was looking at some Piaget pieces, I used to always think about the Altiplano moon face.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
It's
I used
nice.
to keep thinking the moon phase was like, oh, part of it, and they did the now that you mentioned the polo, then yes, it starts to strike the memory. Starts to remind me about Piaget's collections.
Very cool. Wait, where are we?
You're doing Patek, if I'm not wrong, was it Piaget somewhere? Yeah.
Pardon me?
I think you're doing a Piaget or a Patek. Yeah.
Yeah, we're right here. We were doing the two-face Altiplano at 61. We can go, let's go here. This is a Roger Dubuis chronograph, what they call the Monégasque or La Monégasque stainless steel chronograph, relatively large, with a manufacturer caliber, again, micro rotor, chronometer certified, column wheel, Geneva seal, of course, right there. Just making sure. And it's a nicely sized, 43 millimeter cushion case that has some rounder elements or aspect to it as well. And for lot number 66, the estimated value is somewhere between 5,000 to more than 7,500 in US dollars. This is the Roger Dubuis Monégasque self-winding chronograph with a micro rotor movement that carries the Geneva seal. Feel free to stop me if you want to look at any of these.
Oh, no problem. They're too colorful for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
I agree.
I like watches with art. Sometimes when the art goes a bit overboard, well, but art is also very relative too. Yeah.
I love, by the way, speaking of colorful things, I love that these Patek Philippe ashtrays and kind of valet trays in Limoges porcelain are usually very cool too. A lot of times they have patterns, designs, and decorations that have historically been on their watches.
Wow. With this is like it looked like certificates.
Yeah, and they kind of send these as gifts to some of their most exclusive customers, and all the pieces basically are things that are held in the museum in Geneva as well. So it has that sort of resonance as well. You can use them as ashtrays if you smoke cigars or even those nasty cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
But you can also choose to use it for anything else, your keys, your cufflinks or spare change.
Imagine you pay like 637 to 892 US dollars for an ashtray. And I think these are almost priceless already. Yeah. They
In a
don't
way.
make these anymore, don't they?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a lost art, it's like these sorts of porcelain enamel painted stuff is, again, there are a few centers in Europe that still make these. Limoges in France is one of them. um why am I forgetting? Germans have a city like this. I want to say Meissen. I think Meissen is a German city that's really well known for this kind of art as well. But
NML art?
yeah, porcelain with enamel painting.
Yeah, the few pieces you passing by just now, the watch pieces with the look like NML art reminds me of the Beauvais pieces. Yeah.
Ali Reza says more when you pay for the Hermes. Yeah, you Ali, you did miss it, but no worries because we made a point of keeping it within 60 to 75 minutes, which is what we will do with this segment. So anyone who misses it or somehow can't fit it into their schedule can watch it actually and absorb it, at a later time without having to skip through hours and hours of live footage. So Memovox confirms that it was Meissen in Germany and Royal Copenhagen in Denmark. And Memovox is in Denmark, so you would know a thing or two about that. Yeah, these are the Patek enamel painted porcelain trays that are right around $600 to $900 in estimated value. And again, in each case, they commemorate the painting or decoration on a piece that is already being held in the Patek Museum.
It's absolutely beautiful. Just can't bear to be like dropping ash on them.
And yeah, I mean, as Ali says, at least you are getting 3 trays with that
Fair
money.
enough.
So in at Hermes, you'd be basically getting one with a little less than.
And then after which you put your Patek on the tray. Yeah.
Right. That's hard. You have to place it very carefully and pick it up with the same care. You need something softer, I think, for.
Right, because you might scratch the enamel, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's both ways you're fucked. You scratch your watch or you ding the porcelain. You don't want to do either.
You need to put one of those like velvet cloths and then put the watch on top of it. But the velvet cloth would just cover the whole enamel art already.
Oh, this is beautiful as well. This is the first Calatrava reference, basically, the reference 96. Barely larger than 30 millimeters, but very elegant piece in yellow gold, Breguet numerals, beaded gold markers for the minutes, small seconds, Dauphine hands. It's an absolutely beautiful piece. That oversized crown, very old school and very clean too.
I remember you were talking about vintage pieces of vintage watches. I think a day or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost always talk about vintage watches. Maybe, thankfully, this Watches and Wonders allowed me to, come out of my cave a little bit and get in touch with modernity. But it's usually these kinds of watches that I talk much more about. These are, again, because they are a little small, and this piece not necessarily having the fattest lugs can be an interesting deal, but they really exude a lot of what Patek stood for at a certain point in time. So, it could be an interesting addition for any collector. I would, I mean, the dial is so perfect. I can't say anything bad about this piece. The case certainly could have been a little fatter, maybe at the lugs, but It's not horrible. This
It's
is a
good.
this is a piece from
Yeah.
1956 with an estimated value of almost 6,400 to 9,000 in US dollars.
I think with this design, they really are going. This is more of a piece that's actually for the vintage period of time where people
Mm.
back in the day had smaller watches. Only now do they start to. We see a shift of people going to bigger watches, and then from bigger watches, they seem to be making a U turn and going back to doing retro designs. Retro designs with bigger cases, and maybe retro designs with different materials now.
And again, sometimes people exaggerate and say, well, there's a trend towards smaller watches, but that's really a much smaller trend than the almost inevitable progress towards larger and larger watches. I mean, things seem to have settled around 40 millimeters in the mainstream, but both Rolex and Patek, every time they come up with a new release, seem to be actually pushing a little further and further. The Daytona has grown bigger now. The Nautilus has grown bigger. Patek's chronographs and perpetual calendars have grown bigger. They have introduced these 42 millimeter Calatravas under the guise of pilot's watches. So everything is actually getting bigger.
Yeah, and to be honest, you have a very good point because when I first started my collection, I was just interested in getting the brand names that I really admired and I liked, and then I didn't care about the size. So, for example, I had a 3212.80 Omega.
Mm.
It's so called like the Speedmaster reduced. It's 39 millimeters. But then apparently the fact sheet says it's actually 40 millimeters, but it wears like a 39 millimeters. And only did I recently realize that I started to want more real estate for my pieces because of the as you pay more and more, you realize that you want more as well. And then, but I guess it's a very hidden thing. So somehow, naturally, you also feel like you want to have a piece that actually speaks volumes as well. Yeah.
This is, even though it's from an earlier period, this is a larger piece. And you can say, when you look from the profile, it has these sorts of stylized fancy lugs. So it would wear even slightly bigger at this 35.5 millimeter case.
And actually, with the subject of vintage watches, I've actually somehow gone a wee back in time,
Yeah.
and I suddenly liked Roman numerals in watches.
Okay.
So, like today, when I went out with my mother, I was actually wearing this very simple Tissot. It's a quartz piece, but
Let me see.
yeah.
Oh, 1 second. I'm trying to put you up there.
So,
Nice.
so this is a let me see. It's almost like rose gold. Yeah. So this is actually one of my first Tissot I ever picked up. You know what I mean? But when I wanted to pick up the Tissot, I wanted a piece that was Roman numerals. At the same time, you know me, young Brando, I like it when it's big and chunky. Now this is not very chunky, so if you're gonna get technical, there's a ruler. The size is only about what 0.5 millimeters.
Hmm.
Not even close to 1 millimeter in terms of um here the case size on the side.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a ruler so you guys can see. Just a bit down there. We go. Yeah. So actually, this piece actually got me quite interested in Roman numerals. And the same day that I got this piece, I also got the Tudor. Um,
Which one?
I remember the Tudor Royal.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So the Tudor Royal wasn't a piece that was even remotely close to my radar. but I wanted something day date ish. Had a day date, and
Hmm.
just nice in Christmas. Last Christmas, I realized like I had a liking for. I wanted one that was like for daily, like for fun wear. So this
Hmm.
Tissot was like the two tone for fun wear. And then I happened to go past the Tudor section in Watches of Switzerland. And the very first Tudor Royal that caught my eye was the full silver one. So what you have here
This one,
is the 41 millimeters left, to your left.
the one that has diamonds.
No, no diamonds. Full silver.
Okay. So this one.
Yes. So this one actually caught my eye first. And then I put it on, it was quite nice. Then I saw there was one that had champagne dial, and then there was the one with two tone without the champagne dial. It's a silver dial inside with gold numerals, and then after that I tried the champagne dial and I tried the one with gold numerals, and then I realized that the gold one looks nice. Now the pricing for both the full silver one and the champagne dial were actually the same. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I decided to go with the champagne dial.
This
Yeah.
one.
Yes. Yeah. I went
Cool.
with this one. The digital picture doesn't do it much justice, though, but the real one looks really good.
I can see that. I like this integrated bracelet design on the Tudor Royal for sure. Um, I I like the new salmon dial ones that they just came out with
Mm.
in full stainless steel. Not a huge fan of the um, kind of the integrated Jubilee look on the bracelet, if you know what I
Ah,
mean.
integrated.
Um,
Got it.
because oyster quartz had these similar treatments of integrated oyster, integrated Jubilee, and integrated even president bracelets for the date justs and day dates, and they all had their very unique looks. This looks most like the um, integrated Jubilee look. I'll try to show you what I mean by that.
Sure.
When we look at oyster quartz, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
That is the two-tone
Mm.
Rolex oyster quartz. And then, I mean, again, it's different but similar. And then the oyster bracelet is like this in the integrated version, which I like a little better. And the treatment for the integrated bracelet for the day date is also quite spectacular, which is like this.
I'll tell the truth that I'm not really handled a Tudor aside from the Black Bay, which has often came up a lot.
Hmm.
The Royal actually broke my expectations, and the way that Tudor has actually manufactured their their bracelet has been nothing but exceptional.
Tudor, I mean, honestly, I think we talk about it so much sometimes in our little pockets that we forget that not everyone so dutifully approaches it as us Rolex fanboys. You know, it's I know you have a much more eclectic style. You go for exactly what you want. You don't care about the brand. You don't you don't necessarily care about what is
Yeah,
you don't have any prejudices against this or that type of movement. You like something, you get it. You don't care what it says on the dial, etc. Um, but yeah, for me, it comes naturally almost to look for Tudor and find something to like about it. So, for me, that's normal. But we don't understand sometimes how good that product is, especially for the price point.
oh yeah, and you're right, because the Tudor Royal is running the Solita movement. And even though with my very finite knowledge on Solita movement, I can only say that having been the owner of the Royal for about like 2 or 3 months, it's actually feeling really great. And for the price point I'm paying for it, and we've got day and date is amazing already, because I still have my grandfather's old Rolex Oyster Datejust.
Mhm.
Oyster Perpetual Datejust. Yeah. So I realized I wanted something. I want to branch out. I want to have my own style, and I wanted my first Tudor to be special. Aside from the Black Bay and all those, there was also the Tudor Prince, the Tudor
Mhm.
Elegance. I think one or two. I think if I get the names right. But I'm glad that I didn't even know this is called the Tudor Royal. I just went to Watches of Switzerland. And I said, "This looks nice. This Tudor," and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, this is another nice Tudor. It's they call it like the Tudor Date Just, Tudor Date kind of thing." And
Mhm.
the end of the day, I found out, oh, it's a Tudor Royal. I like the whole name already. The whole jingle is just very smooth.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
I think it's quite underrated. And look, I mean, Celita is basically a clone of ETA. So it's the same kind of workhorse performance kind of movement that's pretty generic, but it gets the job done and it allows them to maintain this price point for this particular watch, which I think is just great. For something like this to list right
Yeah.
under 2500, I think is quite a value proposition.
But don't let me pull you away from the auction. Your
No,
auction.
no, no worries, man.
Yeah.
No worries. It's always nice to have someone on board because I can go through this auction tomorrow as well. It's always fun to talk about watches when
I
I
give you
haven't.
credit, young Brando. You can actually do piece by piece, or selected pieces, or you're going with a theme for auction. For me, I would be so, well, very biased. I'd be like, no, this it has to fit a certain criteria, then I can like present it.
Well, for me, I do two things when I do auctions. I post the link to the listings.
Right.
So once every so often, an audience member sends in a super chat. So if it's a piece that I missed or that I didn't get to yet, I switch to that and I talk about it for them. When I go
Ah,
through it, there are some auctions. Well, with this one, I skipped a lot of pieces. So if, again, I go through an entire auction, usually consider at least half of the pieces, sometimes almost all of them. Um, and I take the time with it. When it's an important historical detail, I share. I try to talk about, whether it's something basically mostly collectible because it's too small, perhaps, and it's an interesting value proposition, but maybe not the best thing for daily wear, but still a very nice piece to hold in a collection. Or, if it's something that is a rare gem that's still not really recognized and valued by the market, I try to shine a light on that. I think, for example, this is a great instance where you have a watch that's still very nicely wearable for this time period. A very nice silver dial, yellow gold dress watch. A lot of presence on the wrist with those stylized lugs. Very clean dial as well for something that is 80 years old, basically, almost.
with the raised crystal. Yeah, with the raised crystal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The
it's
dome, I call it like almost like a domed raised crystal.
yeah, it's a nice piece. So this is the a Patek Philippe yellow gold dress watch from around 1946. with an estimated value of 9,000 to 11,500 US dollars at lot number 86. Nope. Where were we? See, I skipped some of the stuff, at least. You see, they have a lot of interesting things, like, from Patek especially. We were just looking at the porcelain ashtrays. They also have leather wallet and
And the
card,
wallets and card holders.
the watch winding box, keychain, candle for the
Scented
170,
candle.
for their 175th anniversary, which was in 2014. Tie and card holder.
The card holders are, especially the leather ones, are the hardest to maintain. Because you have to, with leather, you've always got to moisturize it. You have to keep it, and after you moisturize it, you have to keep it in a cool place where there's no direct sunlight, just to
I was
preserve it. Yeah.
I was going to say, especially, at least in Los Angeles, we have a rather dry heat. But you are in a tropical climate, so it must be even an added challenge to maintain leather, I imagine, right?
It is, and
Or am I
actually,
exaggerating?
just nice. This is what happens when leather. This is actually from one of my watch shops, and I had this leather strap for a while now. So what happens is you get these little spotties.
Ah,
So the little spots you see here, everyone, that's
I
the
do.
issue you might get. Now, of course, obviously, there's ways of cleaning leather and treating leather, So, but obviously, leather straps, especially when you're wearing it a lot, this kind of spots can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they say what water resistance genuine leather. Oh well.
Well, isn't it so strange that especially the crocodile leather seems to be so prone, whereas they spend a lot of time in leather water. No.
Yes, yes. But this is because the leather, which was part of the crocodile, was part of the crocodile. So the crocodile's body was keeping it, was maintaining it. But once it was separated from the crocodile, it just became a separate entity, and there was no more like natural moisturization. It's kind of like ripping your skin off, and then
Yeah.
it just
Well, I
dries
mean,
out.
you realize you are talking to a vegan after all.
I'm sorry.
I know where the egg comes from, in a way.
Oh, with respect to vegetarians and vegans, I have tried eating vegetarian and vegan food, but have struggled with it.
Not for you. Not for you at
Sorry?
all. It's not for you.
No, I can't. Um, Especially when they say that they have so-called flavored this, so they have like tofu flavored something. I mean, tofu material, and then it's flavored with some kind of like meat sauce or something, and then you try eating it, and it tastes a bit odd. Yeah.
I have an email message from my friend. I love Maldives. I think I will look into this, Maldives, if you're still listening, and write to you directly via email, unless you want me to bring it up here and talk. But if that's a purchase that you like to make soon, and for yourself, so you don't want to give the leads to everyone else, I'm happy to respond to you after the live. But at first blush, it does look good. It does look very good and impeccable condition. I mean, wow. The case looks like it's with a factory finish or something. So I will let you know, unless you want me to bring it up here. I'll let you know after the live show. Yeah, just so you know, for future reference, Maldives and everyone else, if you're sending me something with the email, drop a note to the chat, because a lot of times I don't check my email in the background. Sometimes I do, and you know, it's by pure luck that I come across sometimes, especially when I have a guest and I want to, you know, look at these things, you know, Christmas candles and bracelets and like vanity bag, like a clutch bag.
All very pretty, but realistically can't be used.
Yeah, I mean, you can use the bracelet, I guess, if you would like, but
And the bag.
yeah.
And while to the listeners of young Brando and viewers, do give I think young Brando deserves a big thumbs up for his effort running the auction. I couldn't do what you do, because for me, I remember I used to do the shows, I had to have some kind of plan. I had the structure of what to do, but you're amazing. You managed to just pick the lots, talk about it.
I do both ways.
Yeah.
Y2K, I try, you know, look, I like having a lot of structure, but sometimes that's what I discovered. Sometimes when I have too much of a structure, too much of a plan, uh, everything can go well still, but I have a harder time involving the chat. Sometimes people don't want to jump on the panel because they're afraid to interrupt, or they don't want to interrupt. So I try to have a balance. When someone
That's true.
when someone like you jumps up, for example, jumps on the board, for example, and you have something in mind, you know, I can even drop the entire thing and we can talk about something else, because especially since there are 2 more days at least for these auctions, you know, it's not running anywhere. I can catch up with this at any point. Do you want to talk about some of the releases, or do you have anything watch related in mind, or are you just happy just
Oh, I'm
through
just
the,
happy to come here and accompany you, young Brenda. That's all.
that's wonderful then.
The releases haven't really. I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to fall behind. I wouldn't use it fall behind, and I wouldn't use it lose interest. But I'm kind of like at a point where I feel very contented with what I have,
Oh, that's very good.
and the rest would be like if money is abundant, then I can talk about, like, when I say talk about it, it's like then I can go and show up at the shops at the AD to, like, okay, I'm going to buy this and buy that. Yeah, but I also think that in terms of watches, you get to a point where I don't know about you, but as I so called, like, evolve and mature in the journey in terms of buying watches and everything, I get to a point where I find that I need to be very, very personal with my choices.
Hmm.
Not to be swayed by, like, the hype choices. And I think the real thing I would share with you, your viewers, and you, is that when I go to the gray market, or I go to an AD and I see the very hype pieces that are constantly blaring in your face, after a while you realize that you need to strategize. You need to prioritize what you really want to get,
Hmm.
and then it gets easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I as insufferably adult as I was, even when I was like 10 years old, I was an absolute nerd at all times, but I still had to come to who I am over the years. Nevertheless, it was um, rather early on in my collecting journey that I just went after things that I really liked. And to this day, I've never bought a watch at retail. Um, I mean, my Seikos, I guess you can say I bought at retail and as new
Right.
because, even with discounts, those were bought when the models were still in production. But everything else, I got on the secondary market. I don't buy things on the secondary market that list above retail. At any rate, that's a very recent phenomenon. People kind of people are so engrossed in what has been going on in the last 2 3 years, they don't even understand that it's something of a historic change that was never the case before. Buying on the secondary markets meant that you are getting a discount, meant that you are getting a deal, not the other way around. um, and I have my youngest watch is still to this day my Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso, which is from 2002. So my youngest watch is more than 20 years old by now, which actually is a decent cutoff for neo vintage, so to speak, if not properly vintage. So I was never caught up in whatever is the hype or is the shiny new object. That doesn't mean necessarily that my interest in watches is eccentric or eclectic. Um, but I always try to find things that are a little bit off the beaten path, if only
Yeah.
because they offer a better value proposition, if only because my budget, my limited amount of money goes so much further when I go for something a little less predictable.
And you know what you say is so true because a few days ago, um, I was on with you and I was talking about I think it was our professor was on and we were talking about the two tone sea dweller that was very interesting in
Mm.
getting. And then called this is the newbie in play. And then I was like, oh, because that one is probably more expensive than my deep sea. Then when I look at the factual figures, I realized that my deep sea is actually, at that point in time when I got it, it's the pinnacle it's a Mount Everest 30 of
Yeah.
dive pieces. And then when I looked at the two-tone one, then I was like, oh, so it doesn't go as deep as the deep sea. So basically, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is actually almost like a downgrade, but the difference is that you're downgrading in terms of the specs, but in terms of the pricing, you're actually paying more for the materials because it's got gold in it as well. Yeah. So that got me thinking, like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends. That I don't know if you came across him, but we have a member of the community who goes by the name Cool Chris Cali, and
Ah,
he
good, Chris.
he has he has three sea dwellers in his collection. Um, he has the SD43 in stainless steel. He has the SD43 in two tone, and he has the previous generation SD4000.
Hmm.
Um, so it that's one way of going your own way, right?
Yes.
Paul Newman had some other watches, but for the most part, he just liked the Daytona. So he got one with the so-called exotic dial. He got one that's the big red, with black dial, with um, white chronograph registers and a Daytona writing in large red font. He got one, white dials in it. he got one in white gold, but it was mostly all Daytonas. So sometimes people like those things. For me, I think my new watch, if I can get it, if I can swing the one I want, I would really like it to be a Royal Oak, because I've always wanted a Royal Oak. If I can't, I want something different. I want something that brings a different kind of excitement into my collection, maybe a different kind of complication, even something that is maybe a unique case shape, maybe something that has a very unique kind of color. It has to rock my world, right? It can't be. I'm not adding watches to my collection at this point just for the sake of it. I can, maybe one of the micro brands might convince me soon enough to get a dress style watch that I can wear on a daily basis when I don't necessarily want to pull out my date just, or when I feel my Lemania 4D's chronograph is a little too small. Maybe something like that. But when it comes to sports watches, I'm not hurting for anything. So it has to be either a true upgrade in a way, right? A watch in another segment, or something that is very different than Rolex, for sure. And that's where I am. Yeah, I think I'll go for another half hour. We can continue this discussion. I always like this kind of stuff.
No worries. All good. Are you standing or sitting down?
I always stand for these shows because I
Really?
sit through the day for the most part, but it can get tiring. Today I'm fine because I started at 10, so it's only been 3.5 hours. Usually I do at least 4 hours of this, and hey, it's
I take my hat off to your determination.
I'm almost there. I think by May I'll have my little studio here. So I will have a nice chair, a nice stand, a little bit of mood lighting, and an extra camera. I don't. The only reason I'm afraid of it for two reasons. One, I'm so bad with technology that I'm. Oh, wow! Who do we have here? Oh my
Hey, how are
God!
you? Just
Archie.
hey,
Hey, OG, how are you doing?
hey, man. I just came to say hello to you. That's all. I just noticed you were on your stream there, and I just thought I'd jump on and say hello there.
Thank you. That's very nice of you, Archie. How have you been?
It's do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to just bullshit? On my stream, I got to pretend to be happy, but
I want you to be frank and
uh,
honest with me there.
yeah, I've been finding it very hard.
Tell me more.
Oh, because I had I had the burglary. I came back
Yeah.
from America. I got to be honest with you. Mentally, I'm trying as hard as I can to get over this, and it's really not working. Nothing's really working.
It's fucked. I mean, the thing is, look, I can tell you all the platitudes about how, material possessions are not really that important and you can always replace them. But when something like this happens, you feel violated at a level where
Yeah.
it hurts mentally and almost physically, almost constitutionally. But more importantly, I think you lose your faith in your fellow human beings. How can someone do something like that?
And I mean, the other thing too, I'll be completely honest with you. the way other YouTubers have behaved about it has been fucking disgraceful.
You haven't found any of this here, I'm sure.
No. But I mean, the main, the other. I don't even want to mention their names.
I appreciate that, because that's how I do. I'm sure you watch once every so often. I don't expect you to dedicate so much time, but I never involve with drama, positively or negatively, unless it touches me. I don't manufacture. I don't.
No. I understand, man. You're always a cool guy, and I'm sorry I couldn't do more to help you, but I've got my own cross to bear, my own axe to grind, and
of course,
I got to be totally honest with you. There, I've just been really down about a number of things. I've actually got a few pieces. I took some money out of the home, a HELOC. I took just to try a few pieces, just to see what do I really want.
What do you have? Tell me more.
And what I obviously after I came back from the robbery, the only watch I had left was the Explorer 2, which I wore. Okay.
To the US trip, yeah.
Then I had some friends who donated a new 3861 Speedy to me. Okay. And then I actually thought about what do I really want as a one and done sort of watch. And it came to a two-tone bluesy. So I actually got a 40 mil, not a 41. I don't think there's much. There's certain things about the 41 I prefer. I prefer the profile of the case, but I prefer on the 40 the gold lettering, and I prefer the clasp. I think the clasp is nicer on the 40 than the 41. But I mean, look, it's much of a muchness. It's.
I think they both, like you said, they both have something going for them. But if I've learned one lesson from Archie Luxury, we always go for the sweeter deal. We always go for what everyone else seems to have left behind. So 40 fits that mold as well, for sure.
Yes. I gotta say, then I got a few other things. I got a chance to buy a Reverso Grand Date like I had before, slightly newer. Okay.
Yeah. Are you replacing it? That
I'm
was
thinking
your 40th.
Yeah. It's not the same watch. It's a slightly newer example. It's actually got the double clasp, the double butterfly clasp instead of this. Mine was an older one.
Same. Yeah.
I got a Patek 5196 in white gold. Okay. A Maserati Dial Daytona, the two-tone.
Oh, nice. You had one of those too in the past, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, I did. But I got to be totally honest with you. I've bought a few, and a few people, a good friend of mine said, "Look, just let me know on the Reverso. Let me know." I don't know if I'm really even feeling it much with these watches. I kind of think, you know what? I don't know if I really want this many anymore. It's. I got to be honest with you. If I could get out of this YouTube space, I would. Okay. If I could make a living doing something else, I would. But I'm kind of trapped here because the money's good. And to be honest with you, what the fuck else do I do at 50? I've effectively worked for myself for the last 8.5, 9 years. So it's very hard at 50 years old to then go back into an IT career when I've taken 9-year sabbatical. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I even want to do that, to be honest with you.
You remember that? Did you watch that movie called The Intern
Yes.
with Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
That seems like the scenario.
Yeah, it is. It is. I actually, that was a good movie. So I got to be honest with you. In my own case, there, I'm very disappointed. The burglary, nothing's. I don't know. Honestly, I'd like to take a break from the YouTube, but the YouTube is something where if I take a break, I'll lose my slot, and I'm it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult.
It's very funny, Archie, how these things happen, because I was literally thinking about you for the first time in a long while earlier today.
Yeah, no, that's. Look, I'm okay. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm just disappointed. I suppose the thing is, I'm not even tied. The goods that are gone, it's more they damaged so much stuff. By the way, they stole my Breguet. I had a Breguet Type 20 that was stolen.
Yeah,
as well, which that's a beautiful watch. Look, I got to be totally honest with you there. I kind of I'm not sure. I just had a few other personal things. I've turned 50, which is a big age. You start thinking of what's the meaning of life? Why am I here? Why am I doing this for? And I got trouble with my adult son. He's not really doing terribly well. That's kind of plays on my mind.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. I mean, I complain sometimes about being single, miserable, and childless. So I guess I can tell you that at least you have your family around you. My family is an ocean away. I don't really have them around me, even to fight, even to struggle with them, even to worry about them. I can't reach them.
Sure.
So, just to put things in perspective, I cannot even begin to understand to raise children, to deal with their problems at any stage in life. So I don't want to minimize it, but at least you still have them.
I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. The whole YouTube thing, I'd like to go away and do something else, but I'm trapped by the money. Okay.
The golden cuffs. The golden cuffs.
Yeah, I'm kind of trapped. Like, there's so much damage done there to my room, and that books were damaged. So much stuff. I think I'll get a reasonable settlement. I'll probably, to be honest with you, I probably will get a third of what I lost. Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That's why so little?
The watches weren't individually listed. Okay. I had a fairly good safe. I insured things that weren't in the safe because I never assumed they'd get into the safe. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And I was the other thing that upsets me too is, like those watches I mentioned, I can only have 2 at home at a time. So I used to like to take them out and play with them and put them in the safe. Well, I can't do that now. You understand? I'm paranoid about. I can't do that now. So it's kind of. I don't want to say this to you, but it's in some ways it's kind of wrecked my life.
That's
and it's not the money. It's not the money because we've got a house. I've got an investment condo, and we got some 401k. Well, my wife has got mainly the 401k. It's not about, like, those watches probably represented 15% of our wealth. Okay, so if you look at it that way, you could say, well, someone could have a stock market correction and they lose 15%, and big deal. But it's these were very, very personal things that I had chosen. You understand?
Of course. I mean, if anyone
And
could. Yeah. And you know, you also built, look, you are professionally and personally entangled in those. You have also built a career out of those
yeah,
pieces and the
like
journey that took you
I
to
don't know
those.
if you can see the LV box. That's all been cut, badly cut when they broke into the safe.
Whereas
You want me to show you?
yeah, please, if you could, because I haven't. Yeah. It's nice to see Archie here. I'm very happy he paid a visit.
This was that $10,000 box I got. Remember, the community raised the funds for me.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh no.
Because basically it was in the safe,
Mm.
and they used cutters to try and get in, right? And it sat in paint for 2 weeks before I could get it out, and it's all completely fucked.
Man,
Do
what a shame.
you see what I mean? It's completely fucked. And I wanted this box so badly.
I remember.
And look at it now. It's just, look at this. That's saw. It's been cut with a saw, and it's sat in paint. If you look at it here, it was sat in paint for 2 weeks, and I got most of the paint off. This is just the look. It's swole. The thing has swollen here.
Yeah.
It's fucked. It's completely.
What a shame.
This was $10,000 I paid for this. I remember when I picked this up from the store, I picked it out. I decided on the red interior.
Yeah.
So all the cushions, that's where the watches were on. They took them because the watches were on them. They took it. See? So I don't know what to say. You know, it's sort of, I don't know what to say anymore. It's completely fucked, you know? So, I mean, I love that box. You know, do I buy another one or do you just forget about it? I don't know. Well, I don't need it. I don't need another one because I never would have all the watches at home at once anyhow now after that robbery, would I?
I mean, random idea, but you have such a large community. I'm sure there is an artist of some sort in that community who can do a kind of custom job on that piece. And
Oh no,
and
this
make
is completely
something unique.
fucked. It's because it's swollen because it's sat in paint. Do you understand? It's sat in paint because when they cut into the safe, they couldn't get this out of the safe. That's why they left it. They would have taken this box, but they couldn't get it out of the hole they cut into the safe. That's why they didn't take the box. And what happened? Then they poured a bucket of paint into the safe to hide fingerprints or whatever. I don't know why, but they did. So this is completely, it's ruined. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
So, I mean, look, I don't know what I want anymore. You know, I mean, I loved, you know, I'll be honest with you. My collection was at a point where I was just adding slowly a piece or two. I was actually going to add, I was actually at, I was going to add just I was going to add a few chronographs. That's what I was going to add. I thought, you know what? I had the Breguet, I had the Speedy. I was going to add a few chronographs. I was going to get a Navitimer. I was
Like
going
something
to get,
like an 806.
yeah, well, just a good
Authentic.
secondhand, good bang per buck, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um,
Van Lux, 279 Canadian. Not the official currency of this channel, but used to be the official currency of the Archie Luxury channel. It was so swollen. they couldn't pull it out.
Couldn't pull it out. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. So anyhow, all I can say is, you know what?
You gotta admit, that's a good joke.
Yeah. It's okay. Look, I got to tell you, you know what? I don't know what the answer is anymore. You know,
Tell me
I've
what
kind
other
of,
what other chronograph you would have added other than
well,
the
I was going to add a few chronographs. I was going to possibly add another Zenith, a Breitling, maybe a Monaco again. I thought, you know what? That's a little tangent. I was going to go into some chronographs. Does that make sense?
does.
But you know that's gone now because the collection. You know, I was actually at a phase when I had the 4 Pateks, I had 4
Yeah.
Rolex, and I had 4 Pateks, 4 Pateks, 4 Rolex, and I had the Reverso, the Speedy, and the Reverso, Speedy, and the Breguet. So I was going to add, so basically 4 Pateks, 4 Rolex, and I was going to have some more chronographs to add there, you know. But I got to be honest with you, I was kind of content. I had reached, when I had that collection before, I wasn't necessarily yearning for anything. I had enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, you had a very nice collection.
That was my solace of fortitude. That was a good reserve. If anything went wrong, you know, when I bought the car, I said to myself, if something goes wrong, I'll sell a few watches off and pay the car off. Now I'm stuck on the lease. I don't have that money now. You know what I'm saying? And the car, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I love the car, but I'm just a bit damaged from the burglary. I don't really enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, you know what? I really can't see. I don't know. The watches themselves there, I like watches. I wish I could walk away from this career. Problem is, you know, you put too much of yourself out there, and the trolls, they make fun of you and they say this. They always see. I was told not to discuss the security that I had there. We had some footage.
Yeah.
We had. I was told. So everyone criticized. Oh, what would you do this for? The safe, you know, marshmallow safe. So some of my good friends who in the community, they turned their backs on me. And a lot of nasty things were said. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm really that. You know what? I got a few watches here. Okay, so I took a bit of. I'm thinking of actually selling them mostly off.
Didn't you just get them though?
They don't really make me that happy. I'm thinking about getting rid of them. I think what I would keep, I might say the Reverso. I'll sell the Patek off, sell the Maserati off, sell the two-tone Daytona, so the two-tone Bluesy off. That may be the best way to go. You know what I'm saying or not?
You'll have the Speedy, the Reverso.
Speedy, Reverso, Explorer 2, Speedy, Reverso, Explorer 2, Explorer 2, Speedy, Reverso, and maybe get a Black Bay Burgundy again as a diver, discount diver.
Do you remember? I mean, we remember, but do you remember the Archie 5?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, you know. Like I look at the thing is, you know what's happened when I rebuilt the collection. I looked at getting these pieces. People criticized me. They're not exciting enough. They're saying, "Oh, the reverso, yeah." Instead of saying, "Wow, that's really good," they start attacking me and saying, "You know what? The reverso's an old man watch. I want you to get," like people have said to me, get a Patek manual wine chronograph. Yeah, that's $60,000. I mean, are you aware how $50,000 US? Are you aware how expensive that is? I mean, I'm not quite sure if they realize I've just lost all my stuff.
Yeah.
$60,000. I don't have money like that to just you know, I don't know what the answer is. You know, like with this box here, do I buy another one? With if I could buy one of these and it made me happy, I would do it.
You know, one
But
one thing one
but it
thing I will
doesn't.
say one thing I will say is you know, Mike the Snake used to say this about his lost collection, that he wants
Yeah.
to replace those items and become whole again. But now you did a lot of, you know, a lot of soul searching, and you went through
Sure.
getting pieces that you previously had in the collection, not necessarily in its last and nearly perfect form, but maybe, you know, the good thing is you always get watches that are liquid in a way, that are easy to move.
Yeah.
So once you move these, maybe within that budget, you do something unpredictable, unexpected, a little outside of the box, rather than going for pieces that you have already had, even though they are very pleasing to you. And you know, I'm an old soul, so I love the reverso as much as
Sure.
anyone. But
Sure.
maybe you go for something that people can't predict and can't chastise you for.
It's too much hassle, to be honest with you. I can't
Well,
be fucked anymore, you know.
um, well, what can we do to cheer you up and to encourage you a little bit?
There's nothing. There's nothing that can be done. It's
No,
over. No. I'm just telling you the truth there, you know. Um, it's very, it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. And I think sometimes I don't want to get more material goods because I realize they can bring you such misery when they're taken from you. You know what I mean? Like you can get so miserable and there you have a loss. You
absolutely.
understand what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you have these things, you buy them to make you happy, but the amount of pain and upset you feel if they're taken from you, maybe it's better to be a one watch person. You know what I mean? I can understand that because then you don't have to deal with the pain if they are lost or they're stolen or whatever happens there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I don't think there's an easy answer. It's like the world's just been exploded. It's shattered. I don't think there's anything easy to get over this. It's it's kind of fucked. There's nothing. There ain't no easy fix, I'm afraid.
No,
You know, it's it is kind of I don't know. I mean, even you know, they took a lot of my documents too, a lot of paperwork that I had. I lost a lot of my library. All my video library's gone of videos I've made over the years that was taken.
sucks.
Now, most of the videos I uploaded anyhow, so it's not really. But still, I wanted to go through that library years later and critique it a bit and put some stuff. It just can't be done now. It is what it is. In some ways there, I'll be honest with you, I would like, what I would really like to do? I would like to fucking pack up and fuck off to another country. That's it. I would like to fucking leave. Right?
I'd like to do that too sometimes.
I would like to leave. There's nothing for me in well, the problem is I do have my children here and a wife. The house that I'm in, I really like to sell this fucking house and do something else. But I can't. Because I can't do that because the kids are in school. They like the school area, the district they're in. Those younger kids are doing well. They like the house. They don't want to sell. They don't want to move. So you have to sacrifice things for what my eldest with the Japanese wife, he's in grade 12. So you don't want to disturb him when he's in a final year. He's quite academically smart, so you want to make sure he can have a stable environment. I would like to fuck off. I would like to basically.
He's not going to Oxley State High, is he?
No, he's doing really well. Oxley closed. They closed that school.
Really?
Yeah, they closed it. But I'll be honest with you. I think if I had my time, I would like to pack up and leave, go to an Asian country and live. Just take 50,000, right?
Maybe Y2K has a spare room for you.
Yeah.
In Singapore.
If you had a chance and the opportunity, Archie, where would you pick?
I'd probably say Malaysia at the moment. KL. I think Singapore's far too expensive. Singapore
You're
is
absolutely right.
It's far too expensive unless you're a local who's got a HDB access. If you've got access, it's the Housing Development Board. If you need to rent privately as a foreigner, it is so expensive. Okay.
Yeah.
Malaysia is probably the best. Bangkok, I'm not too happy with Thailand. It's expensive, and it also I'm not happy about a few things there. So that's kind of lost its luster, right? Malaysia, I like. Vietnam, I like. Look, if you were rich, Hong Kong and Singapore are the two big countries I think you'd love, right? But for me, I'd probably like to start a new life. My problem is I have responsibilities, okay? It's not so easy just to say, okay, I'm going, that's it. I have responsibilities, and it's also, you go to one of these countries, then you've got visa problems. I mean, how do you get a visa? How do you, it's not just a matter of going there. What, you're going to go on a tourist visa? I think Malaysia has a digital nomad visa you can get, which allows you to work and do things there. But look, I haven't.
You have started looking into this, it seems like. A little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think realistically for me, I don't want to do anything drastic decisions like sell real estate or sell the car. I'm just saying, right? The best thing I can do is reduce I've basically got rid of a lot of consumer debt. The only debt I got is the car and the properties. Okay? Credit cards, basically, I pay that out when the statement comes out. Okay? So, yeah, that's what I've done there.
Yeah.
So I'm getting rid of debt. I probably should get rid of the car. I don't know. I don't want to do anything radical. I'm going to hold for a year. I'm just going to try and see if I can. I don't have to do anything immediately, right?
No.
I'd probably just
You've
keep
got time, Archie. You've got
'cause
time.
the problem is with the car, right? The car is actually now to buy that, like in Singapore. Like the thing is this: if you live in Singapore, do you know how expensive a BMW 3 Series is in
You're
Singapore?
kidding.
The
Don't
new,
want to go there.
if somebody had a G20, because mine's a G20 BMW, right? For a 3, I think you guys have got a 320i or a 318i. They're fucking 250,000 Singapore dollars, right?
Yeah.
I've actually got a 330i M Sport, which is like a 300,000 Singapore car. That's what it is. That's an incredible. People would go, wow, that's in Singapore. That's a dream car to have. You know what I mean? It's so unaffordable in my country. But what has happened is mine was a demo. It was 91,000 Australian, but I got it for 81 because it was a demo. It had 4,000 kilometers on it. So the retail price was originally 91. Now the price is 113,000 because of cost of living. You know, cost of living rises, inflation. So it's actually gone up. So if I get rid of it, I'll probably never get back into one again. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I got a good interest rate. It's a fixed in my country. You have a fixed rate, right? So what I'm actually thinking of doing is the other side. Look, I haven't made any decisions, but I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe that car, just look after it really well. The oil changes are every 25,000, but I'm changing it every 10 because it's stupid to let it go so long. I think realistically, I might just look. I'm just, when I say I want to get rid of it, I haven't decided anything. I'm just keeping my options open. But you know, this is the whole thing. The funny thing is, you know, I should be so happy and grateful for what I got, but I'm down that the stuff I've lost. I don't think about the things I got. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense. I mean, also, you know, not to make you extra anxious, but you know, at some point I had a stalker, for example, in my life, and the place that I lived,
A
because
male or female stalker?
you know, I like keeping things shrouded in mystery, so it may be, I will refer to them as they. They knew where I lived, and that was a great source of stress and anxiety for me. So I can only imagine, you know, having had this kind of event occur in
Sure.
your place of living, and you know that those people know where you are,
Yes.
know how to get in, know how to do damage. So it must have also unsettled you in that way too.
Oh, definitely. It's fucked. But I don't know. So I'll be honest with you. Being 50, I suddenly realize I'm getting old. So I've also got issues from that age. You know, as you turn to that age, you start thinking, fuck, what am I doing? Where am I going? What do I want to do? So it's a very traumatic experience. Here's a good question. Van Lux, $2.80. Was this stalker trying to hurt you or bang you?
A little bit of both. And I like a little bit of hurt. I like a little bit of pain, I must say. Thank you for the super chat, Van Lux.
Yeah, so I don't know what the answer is. I don't know anymore. I don't know. I don't know what makes me happy, what makes me sad. I don't know. I just feel a bit flat about it. It's not about the money. It's just the whole thing just makes me a bit flat.
Well,
But
can I tell you something honest as
sure,
well? I feel, of course, this is a very different experience.
sure,
I don't want to compare it to
sure,
what was
sure,
before,
sure,
but
sure.
a lot of times when you reflected on your relationship to your watches, as much as you love them, one of the common refrains that you had was, they don't make me happy, they don't make me whole. You kept saying things like that long before the robbery, even when you
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think I didn't realize they actually did.
okay.
I
So
didn't
you
realize it at the time. Okay. I didn't realize that you don't realize what you had until you've lost it.
I can
Yeah.
see that.
And with that, my friends, I'm going to have to let you guys go.
No, that's great timing because it's
Yeah.
almost 2 a.m. here. I will have
Yeah.
to jump as well. Thank you so much for dropping by,
Yeah.
Archie, and
Good to see
pouring
you,
your
Yeah.
Archie.
Yeah. No, it's good to see you guys are both, you guys are all welcome on my stream as well there.
If I may just tell
Yeah.
you something, Archie, I would just say,
Yes.
um, take stock, take inventory of your assets right now, and
Yes.
do a check and see which one you want to retain, which one you want to preserve, and maybe what drives you. My timepieces, just to share with you, all of them have a story. So I think when it comes for me to time to sell them, I would be heartbroken. But I think at
Yes.
some point I would have to let go. Yeah, and then
Yes.
that the capital that I get from it, I will do something with it. And the
Unfortunately, I
time
had the
that
capital taken from me as well, but
oh yeah.
you know.
So I would say, Archie, take stock of the pieces you have,
Mm-hmm.
take a picture of them, and then keep them as memories. Dress your best suits, Archie. You like to wear
Yeah.
suits. Put your
Yes.
best suit on, your bespoke suits, and then you
Yeah.
put the watch on and make a
Thank
memory of
you,
it.
guys. Thank you so much. See you later.
Take
take
care,
care,
Archie.
Archie. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you for pouring your heart out and sharing your experience with us, sharing with us your feelings in the aftermath of what was a very heartbreaking situation, that robbery. Guys, thank you for being here. Y2K, especially you, thank you for jumping on. Thank you for being such a great interlocutor always.
No problem.
And
Always. Thank you
and
for having me.
and you're always welcome. Thank you, this as well, for being with me to discuss um, earlier Scarface, which introduced our new segments at the movies. Um, with this or this, we talked about Scarface, a lot of the main themes in the movie. We talked a little bit about the broader cultural significance of the movie in terms of how it pictures the American dream, both with its seductive promises and kind of its traps and limitations, its excesses and its depravities as well. So it was a very nice conversation. We'll continue this probably with another movie, possibly with something that can segue. Maybe we'll go in the direction of that genre. Like a gangster movie. We might continue our conversation with Scarface a little more. We might go into directors that Oliver Stone as the script writer or Brian De Palma as the director were influenced by, and other films that are connected. We'll see. We haven't decided yet what our next episode will be, but there will be a next episode. And I'm very happy to have this with me on this. Check it out. It's only about an hour and it's very coherent. So thanks for being here. Thank you for your presence and support. Hit the like button, please. That does help quite a bit. Thank you, Van Lux, for your super chats here. I appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for your interjections from the chat. Love you all. Take care. Until next time. Goodbye.